Hey guys, welcome to lesson 36 where we are going to talk about exceptions. So exceptions is just a super nice way to say error. So instead of saying we have an error, we say an exception is thrown. So the next time you take a test and your teacher said you did this wrong, and you're like, I'm sorry, the exception was thrown. One of the most common exceptions that you guys are probably actually already familiar with is dividing by zero. Let's take a look back at what we did for lesson 35. So we have first our main method. So basically this would be like a chain of methods because in our main method we call savings account. So we go from main to savings account. Savings account then calls on the superclass, which is bank account. So this is like a chain reaction within our main method. Now, what if you had an error? So our main method's fine, the savings account's fine, but what if we had some sort of exception here in the bank account class? Now, if there was that IO exception down in the base, if we had put throws IO exception, if you guys remember back to like lessons 25, 26, where we use that a lot, only if you have throws IO exception for that method, it will go back to that other method that called it. Now, if you don't have throws IO exception, what it's going to do is it's going to look for a try-catch statement. So basically a try-catch is a way for your program to handle the error right in the code. Otherwise, what it's going to do is it's going to keep going back and back and back. So if we had get balance or bank account, it would go back to the method that called it, which was public savings account, and it would keep going back to where the savings account was called in the main method. So it's going to keep going up and up the ladder trying to find some way to fix the error, and if it can't find it, that's when it claims an exception. Now, if we had the throws IO exception in this main method, we would be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to force an error. So that may sound kind of silly, that we're going to basically attempt to write a code that doesn't work. But you would want to force an error because you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is going to be able to handle any errors that may come across. So forcing an error is actually kind of smart. It's the same way that Facebook pays people that hack into it because they want to know where they're weak and then they can fix it. So this is exactly what you're going to do with your code. You're going to intentionally mess it up so that you can go fix it. So what I want you to do is I want you to go into your lesson 35 that we still have open, the bank account and savings account. And you see up here where we actually did this, we're going to change it. So we're going to say version 2.0, date, whatever today is. We're going to say added forced exceptions. So we're actually going to use our code from lesson 35. So come on down to withdraw. So we're going to put a couple of stipulations in our bank account here. So first of all, withdrawal must be less than the balance. So if you have $200 in your account, you cannot take out $250. That's called theft. Can't do that. Another precondition that we're going to have is that the withdrawal must be greater than zero. Why would you go to the bank to get money out and then take out nothing? So if you're a bank, you want to put together code to make sure that those preconditions are met. So the first we're going to check is that if we're going to say B, because that's the withdrawal amount, is greater than balance. Right, we've already established those. And then we should probably let the people know that they can't take out more than they have in there. So let's put together a string for them. So string no-go equals can't withdraw more than the balance. So now we also need to check these preconditions, which these are just a remark, just a note for us. But we also want to throw any exceptions that should come up from it. So what we'll use is we'll use a new class called illegal argument exception. And all it's one word with all of the first ones capitalized but not capital R. So you may have to go through a really long one. I'm just going to call it E because E is a nice one for error. And we're going to say equals new. So anytime you call on a new method, it's always the way it works. So illegal argument exception. And the error message we want to display is no go. Okay. So that is how we're going to throw exceptions. Then we also need to come down here and say throw E. So what this does is if we get this error, so someone is trying, they're at their ATM, they're making a withdrawal, and they try to withdraw more than the account, it's going to present the message and stop the program. So basically it's going to say, hey, you took out too much money, please enter your card and try again. This is a much nicer way of quitting a program than just exiting and throwing an IO exception. So instead of all that red showing up in your console, it'll say a lovely little message says can't withdraw more than the balance and the program will just end. We also need to put in our other preconditions. So I'm going to copy and paste this entire set here. And instead of b greater than balance, we want to say if b is less than or equal to 0. And we would say string no-go is can't withdraw more than the balance. Say withdrawal must be greater than 0. Must be greater than 0. Can you notice that these are named the same? We have no-go, E, but because they're in if statements, this could execute, this could not execute. This is going to end the program. So if it doesn't work, it's going to quit. So we can have the same string name here. Go ahead and save your work and you're ready to go on to part 2 video.